Okay, let's dive in. Today we're looking at a really key time for the American Baha'i community, roughly 1933 through to 1946.
Right. And we kick off with something pretty remarkable, don't we? That February 1933 message.
Yeah, exactly. Where Baha'u'llah, Abdul-Baha, and the Greatest Holy Leaf call the American believers champion builders of the world order of Baha'u'llah.
It's incredible praise, talking about their sleepless vigilance, courageous loyalty, exemplary self-sacrifice. That's quite the commendation.
It really sets the stage, doesn't it? It feels like the foundation for everything we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just, a pat on the back. It recognized real, sustained effort already happening.
So as we go through these next years, using these messages and convention notes, we'll see how that recognition kind of spurred them on.
Yeah, it's like it gave them a platform for even bigger things.
And we have to remember the context, right? The 1930s, early 40s, I mean, the world was in turmoil.
Oh, completely. The Depression, rising dictatorships, then World War II. It was a really difficult time globally.
So looking at the internal focus and drive of this community against that backdrop, it feels even more significant somehow.
Definitely. So our mission today, really, is to understand their priorities, what drove them during this decisive hour, as they called it.
What can we learn from their records about their growth, their resilience, their sort of emerging global mission?
It's about seeing how this, relatively young faith community establishes itself and pushes outwards during a massive global crisis. These documents give us a window into that.
Okay, so let's go back to those early years, 33 to maybe 36. One thing that jumps out early is this focus on non-participation in politics.
Right. That March 33 message. It talks about needing utmost circumspection, tact, patience, and vigilance.
Which sounds tricky. They mention potential misunderstandings from governments, even like deliberate misrepresentations from enemies.
It raises that whole question, doesn't it? How does a group focused on unity and world betterment deal with existing politics without getting bogged down in it?
Seems like they were being very careful, very strategic about keeping their focus on the spiritual side of things.
A real balancing act, yeah.
Then, in October 34, there's the passing of Susan Moody.
Ah, yes, a key figure.
Described as a far-famed pioneer, the one who made that first link between Persia, the faith's birthplace, and America.
And they were told to build a monument for her in Persia, right? And held a memorial at the temple site.
Yeah. It really shows those early connections, East and West, and how important these pioneers were. What does that focus tell us?
Well, it shows this tangible recognition for individual contributions right from the start. Her passing wasn't just personal loss. It was seen as like a historical marker for the global community forming.
Building bridges,
Yeah.
literally and figuratively.
Exactly. That monument instruction in Persia speaks volumes about those spiritual ties across continents.
Okay, moving to April 1936. Abdul-Baha's historic appeal to the convention.
Mm-hmm. A really powerful message.
Super urgent tone. Fulfill the tablets of the divine plan. The first Baha'i century is ending. Humanity's entering a most perilous stage.
And vision laid out is just immense, isn't it?
Totally. Every state in the U.S., every republic in the Americas, to embrace the faith and establish the world order structures by the century's end.
That's incredibly ambitious.
So for anyone listening who might not know, can you quickly explain what the tablets of the divine plan are? What do they guide?
Sure. Basically, they're letters from Abdul-Baha. They outline this grand strategy, like a spiritual blueprint for spreading the Baha'i teachings globally.
Identifying regions, tasks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this 1936 appeal to fulfill them as the century closed. It really amps up that sense of historical destiny, urgency.
And that urgency seems to lead directly to the next step. Just a month later, May 36, fresh conquests and unprecedented triumphs.
Right. Calling for a systematic plan.
To get at least one center in every state and republic in the Americas they hadn't reached yet, and eventually Europe too.
That's a clear shift, isn't it? From consolidating to actively expanding outwards.
Yeah, it feels like a strategic evolution. First, build the base, then push out. Why do you think that happens? Is it just about numbers?
Well, partly it's the core mandate, right? The Baha'i faith is about unity, spreading the message. So once you feel established, the natural next step is to share it.
Makes sense.
And maybe also feeling you have something vital to offer a world that's clearly struggling.
Then around July 36, this call for rededication.
Ah, yes. Another strong one.
It really hits hard. Every believer, take action, time's short, the world's getting worse. Need audacity, resolution, self-abnegation.
You can feel the intensity.
And it calls the divine plan the key to their unimaginably glorious destiny. Says its impact is already global.
It really drives home that this grand vision needs everyone involved. It's not just for the leaders.
And those personal qualities, audacity, self-sacrifice.
Right. It suggests that personal transformation is part of making the global mission succeed. And seeing global impact already reinforces that their local actions matter everywhere.
Okay, so this all seems to build directly into launching the big one, the 7-year plan, starting around 1937.
Exactly. A major undertaking.
March 37, a complete rededication, ties it to the 25th anniversary of Abdullah Bahá's visit to America.
Using that anniversary as a spiritual touchstone.
And the focus. Renewed teaching, but specifically extending to South America and the Pacific Islands. Promise of unimaginable blessings.
That specific mention of South America and the Pacific, it's a clear broadening of their horizons beyond North America. A big step in global outreach.
Then there's this mention of a dual gift message at the 37 convention, hinting at a twofold task.
Which gets elaborated on slightly later.
Yeah, June 4th, 37. The call has gone forth. The path is clear. It says doing this twofold task will bring a luster to the century's end, comparable to the heroic age.
High praise indeed.
But what was this twofold task exactly? It wasn't immediately obvious from the notes.
It almost certainly refers to two parallel things. First, strengthening the community internally, spiritually, organizationally.
Okay, building capacity.
Right. And second, the outward push teaching expansion, especially into those new areas like Latin America, they saw both as essential, working together.
Got it. Internal strength fuels external action.
Precisely.
Later that year, November 37, all should arise. This one expresses real admiration for the faith's progress in America.
Especially compared to persecution elsewhere, right?
Exactly. It highlights that contrast. And the call is to keep exploring, keep scaling up, laying firm foundations. The 7-year plan is central to their destiny, impacting everyone.
It's like they're recognizing, okay, we have freedoms, others don't. We have a responsibility to use them.
A sense of gratitude fueling action.
Absolutely. And that feeling of global connection, shared responsibility with Baha'is facing hardship elsewhere.
Then early 38, things get very practical. Certain vital requirements of 7-year plan?
Yeah, laying out the nuts and bolts.
A threefold obligation. Keep the funds flowing.
It's essential for any big plan.
Local assemblies need to welcome new people with patience and love, not getting hung up on minor rules.
Important for growth, keeping it welcoming.
And the National Assembly's role in coordinating and motivating everyone.
It shows real organizational maturity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Recognizing all the different levels needed, individual support, local welcome, national strategy.
Then the 38 convention itself sounds significant. The message, draw nigh unto Baha'u'llah, notes more delegates attending.
Suggests a growing, more engaged community.
And it calls for deeper spiritual connection within the House of Worship, the temple being built.
Connecting the physical building with the spiritual purpose.
And here's that incredibly moving detail. The greatest holy leaf sending locks of Baha'u'llah's hair.
To be placed under the temple dome.
Wow. As a token of her blessing and gratitude, it ties the physical work to the most profound spiritual core of the faith.
It really does. That blends of the practical construction and deep spiritual symbolism is incredibly powerful. And more delegates means more buy-in, more collective ownership.
By July 38, marching toward their goal, it notes the world situation worsening, internal disintegration and external chaos accelerating.
A stark assessment of the times.
And the Baha'i community is framed as the leaven, needing to transform society, moving steadily towards their goal with divine help.
It positions them not as escaping the world's problems, but as an active force within them, working for transformation. Their faith keeps them moving forward even if things fall apart elsewhere.
That contrast gets sharper in September 38. Unbroken solidarity, unquenchable enthusiasm.
Right, where they explicitly compare their efforts.
To the moribund and obsolescent institutions of the old world. It's pretty direct.
It really emphasizes the urgency of the 7-year plan against that backdrop of decay. They felt they had a vital alternative.
Like their success wasn't just for them, but a model for a new way forward.
Exactly. Not just advancing a religion, but building a new kind of society.
November 38, a call for a new level of heroism. This is tied to the temple gallery ornamentation nearing completion.
Another milestone prompting a renewed push.
And there's that big donation mentioned, £1,000 in the greatest holy leaf's name for the temple fund.
Tangible progress, inspiring more dedication, more sacrifice, and that donation again shows that deep connection and support from the Faith Center.
Then comes a really specific strategic call in January 79, 9 holy souls.
Yes, the pioneer call.
Temple work is moving fast, so the focus shifts hard to teaching. They need 9 pioneers for specific, unreached places.
Alaska, Delaware, Nevada, South Carolina, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, and Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Canada. Very precise.
And this is seen as like a precondition for opening up the whole southern half of the Western Hemisphere spiritually.
Wow, that's a huge vision tied to these specific actions.
And there's even money pledged, £900 to help them settle. The level of planning is amazing.
It really shows a highly organized, targeted approach to expansion. These specific territories weren't random. They were seen as key strategic points.
February 39, God's creative plan. Notes progress on both fronts, temple and teaching.
The dual goals moving forward.
Special mention of embracing Latin America, seeing God's plan unfolding even with global dangers rising.
Yes, that connection between temple building and teaching work keeps coming up. Progress in Latin America, especially against the dark world backdrop, must have felt like powerful confirmation.
Like their efforts were divinely guided, part of something bigger unfolding.
Exactly.
Then May 39, that priceless heritage. It clearly states the 2 main activities. Safeguarding what they'd already built.
Consolidation, yeah.
And expanding the range, the pioneering work, needing renunciation and fervor.
Highlighting the sacrifice involved in that expansion.
And again, it links the grandeur of their task to the mortal perils of the time. Their mission gets clearer as the world gets darker.
It's like the crisis wasn't a deterrent, but fuel. It underlined why their message of unity was so desperately needed.
Okay, so 1939 to 42. World mission focus really amps up alongside temple progress. May 26, 39. Official inauguration of World Mission.
A key moment.
Simultaneous efforts. Temple completion and 7-year plan work, specifically settling Central American republics.
Tying the 2 goals together explicitly.
Talks about spiritual forces released, assurance of victory for those who arise, calls the tablets of the divine plan their holy charter.
Strong language emphasizing the divine mandate.
And the immediate task. Establish centers in Central and South America. It feels like a formal launch, doesn't it?
Absolutely. A decisive shift to an explicitly global mission, rooted directly in Abdu'l-Bahá's guidance. That faith in divine help is palpable.
Then October 2nd, 39, the sad news about Martha Root passing.
A huge figure in the early Baha'i world.
Called a heroic life, the foremost hand raised by Abdu'l-Bahá, first and finest fruit of the formative age. A memorial advised at the temple.
She was an incredible, tireless teacher and traveler for the faith. Her loss was deeply felt.
But the praise heaped on her.
It really underscores the immense impact she had, a powerful example for everyone else.
Later that October, a message on the mandate conferred by Abdu'l-Bahá refers to a San Francisco meeting that went really well.
Exceeded expectations, it says.
And there's this urgent plea to pioneers, those already out there and those planning to go in those specific republics, don't give up your posts.
Even with the world situation getting messier.
Yeah, based on that original mandate from Abdu'l-Bahá, stick with it.
It shows how central that initial guidance was. Stay the course, fulfill the mandate, no matter how tough things get globally. That sense of duty was strong.
December 21, 39, something deeply spiritual. The spiritual potencies of that consecrated spot.
The transfer of the remains to Mount Carmel.
Yes, the purest branch in Baha'u'llah's wife, near the shrine of the Bab and the greatest holy leaf. It talks about reinforcing the spiritual power of that spot.
Designating it as the future center for the faith's world administration.
And it quotes Baha'u'llah and Abdu'l-Bahá extensively about their station, the significance of pilgrimage there. This is about establishing the spiritual and administrative heart.
A hugely significant development for the faith's future. Consolidating that spiritual heartland on Mount Carmel, linking it directly to these revered figures. The quotes emphasize the immense spiritual weight.
Then just days later, December 30th, the seal of complete triumph. This directly links the temple in Wilmette.
The Mashri'l-Adhkár.
To those same sacred memories on Mount Carmel. says this connection starts the final phase of the temple project, launched on the day of the Bab's interment.
Wow, that timing is deliberate.
It traces the temple's history back to Abdullah Baha's visit, the believers' efforts, and linking it to Mount Carmel sets the seal of complete triumph, enhancing its spiritual power.
So the temple isn't just an American achievement, it's deeply tied to the World Center's establishment. That connection was seen as vital for the faith's global future.
That dual-focus internal strength outward action is back, January 18th, 1940. Dual, vitally urgent obligation.
Keep stressing both sides.
Conserving the community's spiritual health and pushing forward the temple plan mentions the fateful 40s, the coming centenary, potential for unsuspected victories.
You feel that mix of urgency and optimism. Balancing internal well-being and outward progress is key, and that hope for unexpected wins shows their deep faith.
Around the same time, January 40, another loss. Mae Maxwell passes away.
Another highly revered figure.
Likened to Keith Ransom-Keller and Martha Root, heroines of the formative age, her passing while serving in a Southern outpost is seen as a potent blessing for teaching.
Their lives were clearly held up as models of selfless devotion. Their passing was sad, but also seen as spiritually significant, inspiring others.
By July 20, 1940, the world situation is dire. The supremely challenging hour. The World War is heating up, threatening the World Center itself.
A direct threat to the heart of the faith.
And the message reiterates the key needs for the 7-year plan. Settle the rest of Latin America, consolidate new areas, get funds for temple ornamentation.
Despite the global crisis intensifying.
Yeah, but it expresses total confidence in the American believers. The pressure is immense, but their resolve seems solid.
The escalating war just underlined the urgency. Failure wasn't an option. But that confidence shows their belief in the community's strength.
August 12, 1941, unconquerable power expresses gratitude for the response to the 7-year plan.
A moment of appreciation.
And interestingly, it addresses the latest agitation, doesn't name names, but we know it refers to Ahmad Sohrab's attempt to undermine the administrative order.
Ah, the internal challenges.
Right. But it emphasizes the faith's resilience, its purifying power, its indestructible unity against opposition, internal or external.
That's significant. Acknowledging internal dissent, but framing it as something the faith inherently overcomes, even gets stronger from.
Like opposition galvanizes the believers.
Yeah, it taps into divine energy, it suggests.
November 20, 41, the process of integration and disintegration. Pride in the temple nearing completion, teaching intensifying, despite opposition.
Keeping the focus on progress.
And it talks about this global process. Integration within the Baha'i community versus disintegration in the wider world.
That core Baha'i idea again.
And it lists positive developments worldwide. Cornerstone in Egypt, recognized cemetery, growth in Baghdad, pioneers settling nearby places inspired by the Americans.
Painting a picture of global spiritual momentum, even amidst the chaos. Underscoring the faith's growing reach.
December 8th, 1941, a date we all know. The crucible of world conflagration.
Pearl Harbor. The U.S. enters the war.
The appeal is stark. American believers, do not surrender your spiritual duties. Keep building the faith's institutions during this incredibly critical time.
A powerful call to stay focused on their mission, even when the nation is plunged into war. Their work was seen as paramount.
Early 42 messages bring comfort. January 6th, from the true upholders of the covenant, praising loyalty and achievements.
Affirmation during a tough time.
Then, mid-January, a truly world-embracing crisis. It frames the U.S. entry into war not just as disaster, but as releasing forces for eventual world unity.
A remarkable perspective, linking the war to the Baha'i vision of unity.
Acknowledges the huge challenge for American Baha'is, but expresses confidence in their heroic self-sacrifice. Assures blessings if they keep the 7-year plan going uninterrupted.
Reframing the war within a larger spiritual narrative, offering encouragement, stressing the importance of their continued efforts.
And March 12, 42, the American Believers Supreme remaining responsibility acknowledges the National Assembly's decision to finish the temple ornamentation and build the steps.
Moving forward with the physical structure.
But then urges believers to subordinate everything else to carrying the faith's light and establishing the administration in every remaining territory in the Americas.
Narrowing the focus. The final push for the 7-year plan in the Western Hemisphere is now the absolute top priority.
Right. With the temple almost done, it's full speed ahead on expansion and consolidation across the Americas. That's their main job now.
Okay, so now we're in the final stretch, 42 to 46, the final push and victory.
April 25, 42. Message to the convention. Notes this last phase of the 7-year plan is happening alongside the culminating agonies of a travailing age.
Connecting their efforts directly to the world's suffering again.
And it powerfully recalls the original calls from the Bab and Baha'u'llah to the West and Abdullah Baha's divine plan with the 7-year plan as its first stage.
Framing their current work within that long divine lineage. It's not just a plan. It's fulfilling a spiritual destiny.
May 26, 42 summarizes progress. Temple ornamentation nearly done, intercontinental teaching advancing.
Acknowledging achievements.
But reiterates the urgent need for more pioneers. Success is noted, but the call for more action is still strong.
Balancing celebration with the reality that the job isn't finished. Needs sustained effort, more people stepping up.
June 8, 42. Joy about new assemblies forming in Latin America, U.S., Canada.
Tangible growth.
But stresses the imperative need for multiplication of pioneers across the Americas. Why the increased urgency?
Restrictions in the East due to the war, plus ongoing opposition. The Americas became the main accessible field.
And the reasons given are specific. Safeguard past work, confound enemies, fulfill America's spiritual destiny.
Yeah, multiple strategic reasons making pioneering in the Americas absolutely critical at this specific moment.
September 21, 42. The tone gets even sharper. Supremely urgent call.
Things are getting critical.
Says the fate of the 7-year plan is perilously in the balance. Pleads for immediate, vast increase in pioneers, strict economy, more funds.
You can feel the pressure mounting as the deadline approaches. A realistic look at what's still needed and the practical challenges of doing it during wartime.
But then, November 25, 42, a shift. A claim with grateful heart. Relief and celebration.
What was the cause for celebration?
Emerging successfully from the severest crisis since his passing, likely referring to those covenant-breaking challenges. Their loyalty is hailed as a victory even bigger than other achievements.
So overcoming internal division was seen as fundamentally important. Unity and fidelity are the bedrock. A huge spiritual victory.
Then back to practicalities, January 8, 43. The unfinished tasks. It's the last year of the first Baha'i century.
A major milestone approaching.
Acknowledges progress, but lists the big jobs left. Finish the temple interior, nationwide publicity, plan a fitting centennial celebration.
Okay, bringing it all home for the century mark.
And a direct plea to the apostles of Baha'u'llah, the early believers, to prove their title in these final months.
Wow, invoking that title puts serious weight on their responsibility to finish strong.
And then, boom, January 13, 43. Completion of temple exterior.
Ahead of schedule, a year early.
That must have been incredible news, a huge boost.
Absolutely. A massive achievement, especially under wartime conditions. Testament to their dedication and organization.
March 28, 43 reiterates the temple exterior completion, but pivots right back.
To the ongoing teaching work, right?
Exactly. Consolidate new groups, form assemblies in virgin areas, no resting on laurels.
The temple milestone wasn't an end point, but fuel to keep pushing on the expansion and community building front.
May 25, 43. Baha'i communities of East and West. This one is lovely. Describes the thrill Eastern communities felt hearing about American achievements.
Temple, Latin America progress, North American assemblies.
Yeah, and it mentions Persians pioneering, progress in India, Iraq, a real sense of global connection and mutual inspiration.
It really shows that growing global unity. American success wasn't just theirs, it lifted spirits everywhere.
Then appeals to safeguard the gains in the Southern Hemisphere and finish the job in North America.
Maintaining that global perspective.
June 30, 43, brief note expressing joy about preparations for the centennial celebration, affirming spiritual participation worldwide.
Getting ready for the big commemoration.
And July 34, 43 recognizes the 7-year plan as the greatest collective undertaking of the first Baha'i century, now rapidly concluding.
That's a huge statement about its historical importance.
Notes its inspirational effect globally. Details progress, but also points out remaining tasks in specific areas needing reinforcement. The finish line is in sight.
Acknowledging its status as a landmark achievement and a model, while still ensuring all the targets are met. Thoroughness to the end.
Then the big convention, May 14, 1944, the All-America Convention.
A triple commemoration.
Centenary of the Bab's Declaration, 50th anniversary of Abdullah Baha's visit west, and temple completion.
Wow, what a convergence.
The message recalls milestones, acclaims the American community as the torchbearer of Baha'u'llah's civilization, pays tribute to founders, pioneers, administrators, martyrs, teachers.
A real moment of reflection, gratitude, celebration, marking a watershed moment in Bahá'í history in the West.
August 18th, 1944, declares the centenary celebrations befittingly crowned the 50-year record, and the 7-year plan set the seal of complete spiritual triumph.
The end of an era, officially.
And announces a new chapter opening. Tasks: preserve gains in the Americas, but now launch a mighty impetus for more expansion, literature, translation, proclamation, strengthening new communities.
Shifting focus firmly to the future, building on the success, new, bigger challenges ahead.
The next few messages cover various things, dealing with some covenant breaking,
Necessary housekeeping, unfortunately.
grief at a pioneer's passing, finding strength in God passes by, emphasizing vigilance,
Reinforcing core principles and remembering contributions.
and still calling to form assemblies in remaining republics, spread the faith wider in the Western Hemisphere. Consistent themes.
Yeah, safeguarding unity, honoring service, staying focused on the mission.
December 24th, 1944. Contrasts their spiritual victories with the troubled world state. Notes Bahá'í communities globally were providentially spared major harm in the war, mostly.
Recognizing their unique position.
And underscores the American community's preponderant share and global mission. Outlines tasks for the transition period.
What were those?
Maintain and multiply assemblies, nurture pioneers, disseminate literature, bring the message to the masses. Huge responsibility emphasized.
Clearly positioning them as leaders in the post-war era, outlining the immediate next steps to consolidate and reach out.
May 9, 1945. Celebrating the partial end of the war, foreseen by Baha'u'llah.
A turning point.
Acknowledges divine providence protecting the world center, ensuring communication continued. Notes progress despite the war exceeded previous efforts.
Seeing divine guidance even through the conflict.
Highlights the 7-year plan victory and growth in India. The war's end opens new doors.
A pivotal moment, validating their efforts and signaling new opportunities.
August 17, 1945. Thanksgiving for the war ending. Eager anticipation for restrictions lifting.
To launch the second stage of the divine plan.
And urges focus on Latin America work as a prelude to reaching war-torn Europe.
Strategic thinking. Latin America as a vital launch pad for the next phase, particularly towards Europe.
Late 45, early 46 messages. Mourning more pioneers.
Honoring their service.
Praising the German Baha'i community's resilience during severe trials. Appealing for American help in their rehabilitation.
That global solidarity again. Practical support across communities.
And then the big one. April 23rd, 1946. Inauguration of second 7-year plan.
Launching the next major global effort.
Designed to culminate in the centenary of Baha'u'llah's mission. Details 4 main goals.
Let's hear them.
Consolidation in the Americas continues. Complete the temple interior ornamentation.
Finishing the Mother Temple.
Form 3 new national assemblies. Canada, Central America, South America.
Wow, decentralizing and empowering regional growth.
And initiate systematic teaching in Europe.
A massive new continental focus.
The message stresses the historic privilege and immense responsibility of the American community. A new, even more ambitious chapter begins.
That's a huge leap forward, building directly on the first plan's success, but scaling up massively across multiple continents. Demonstrates incredible confidence and commitment.
The messages for the rest of 46 really hammer home the scale of this new plan.
Titles like Utmost Vigor, Vigilance, and Consecration. This national and international crusade.
Yeah. They underscore the vastness, the complexity, the obstacles, especially in shattered Europe. The need for courage, sacrifice.
Acknowledging the difficulties ahead.
But also note initial successes, hopes aroused globally, need to direct forces effectively, remove barriers, call for higher levels of effort, focus, consecration than ever before.
Setting the tone for this incredibly ambitious next phase. Emphasizing the need for sustained, strategic, deeply dedicated effort to achieve these transformative goals.
So, reflecting on this whole period, it's just an incredible arc, isn't it?
Truly extraordinary.
From those early consolidation calls, launching the first 7-year plan, the massive temple achievement spreading across the Americas.
And then launching straight into an even bigger global plan, the second 7-year plan.
It's a story of immense dedication, sacrifice, unwavering belief, all during one of the darkest periods in modern history.
It really is a testament to what a community can achieve when united by a powerful vision and deep faith, guided by clear leadership, thriving not just surviving, amidst global chaos.
And for me, the real aha moment digging into these sources is seeing that constant connection between the local actions and the huge global vision.
The tablets of the divine plan as a constant guide.
Yeah, the strategic planning, the detail, the sense of guidance. It wasn't just random acts of faith. It was this coordinated, inspired, collective push.
Absolutely. It reveals this amazing blend of strategic organization, spiritual depth, and understanding their part in a bigger historical process. Both individual initiative and unified action were key.
And this isn't just history, is it? It feels relevant now. That spirit, dedication, resilience, perseverance, it still inspires the Baha'i community today.
Definitely. The challenges might look different now, but that core commitment to unity, service, sacrifice, it's still the driving force.
Understanding this period gives so much insight into the values that still guide them today in working towards, a more unified and peaceful world.
Well said. It provides a foundation for understanding their ongoing efforts.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening to mull over. What does it actually take for any community really to stick to a spiritual vision like this over decades, across continents, especially through massive global upheaval?
That's a deep question.
And what lessons from this specific journey captured in these documents might resonate with us today, whatever our own path is? It's just a powerful story of faith in action.